where do you feel like as you head into this last month of the season, where do you feel like you guys are up front, both in handling the run and then kind of where's your pass rush at right now?
Well, I would say I don't think anybody's pleased, with where we are at this moment. Obviously the last, couple of games, I think, we hadn't played up to the standard that we expect, that the kids expect. And obviously we've got to do better, everybody, as players, coaches, everybody. We got to coach it better, and we got to execute it better. So, we've got to fit it on all levels. It's never going to be about one level. I mean, run fits, it starts first, second, and third level. Everybody's got to have ownership in it and understand, hey, when one guy doesn't do his job, the stress that it puts on everybody else. But, we've also got to be better teachers and make sure that we're stressing that.
Saw Ethan get a few more snaps on Saturday and had a tackle for loss and chased the guy down. Where is he in his development?
I think he's progressing. All those young guys, obviously you want them to come in instant, ready-made. It's just hard to, play at an elite level in this league, as a young guy, But, I do think that, I think Ethan's going to be a really good player. Obviously as he continues to mature and get stronger and understand the speed of the game and the slowdown and the physicality portion that, that's much different than what he experienced in high school. I think that he will continue to get better just like the other young guys, that are progressing that way. But we're excited about the future. Obviously we like to accelerate everyone as far as, their development and all that, but it is a process.
Coach, how nice was it to get David back after he missed the first 5 games, and what have you seen from him, and what do you want to continue to see from him the rest of the way?
Obviously, getting Hobbs back has definitely been a boost, from an athleticism standpoint. But same thing, like I've been stressing to him, from watching the film from Saturday, the last 2 games, he's only been back 2 games. Obviously, we've got to get his fundamentals better. He's got to play behind his pads a lot better. You can see his athleticism, the way he can run around and fly and make things happen. But, he's got to play with better pad level and better physicality. That's what we need from him, on the run. And then obviously, last week, being on that turf, his foot got a little bit aggravated. It's hard for him to stick his foot in the ground right there. But, he fought through it. And we're proud of him from that standpoint. But like I said, we all have to get better. And that's all across the board.
Rodney, you said the past few weeks, I guess that you don't feel like the defense has sort of met the standard. When y'all are watching the film and seeing these things, how many of these things that you're seeing are things that, in theory you could fix in a week, or are some of these kind of things that are going to take longer, you think?
All the things are fixable. And that's the thing, when you're sitting there and you're watching the film on Sunday and you're watching it with the guys and you're going through it and you see the plays that you're giving up, man, and that, I know that's what's frustrating. A lot of it is about what you're doing, how you're self-inflicting things, and so we have to be more attentive to details and understand that, hey, you have to take care of the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. So fix it when it's small, and it won't ever become a big problem. And so that's the thing that's encouraging about it, that that these are things that can be corrected, that must be corrected, because that's what you expect of yourself. That's what this program expects of us, and that's what it should be. We're an elite program. These are, we expect to play at an elite level. And we're not meeting that standard. We're not coaching at that level. We're not doing anything at that level. So the room for improvement is there. So, and I think everybody's prideful. Everybody wants to be really good. So, it's a challenge that we got to meet head on. That's what being a man is, and that's part of growing up. And you have to face challenges, and you can't run away from it.
I know you're probably addressing it in the building and at practice, but in your opinion, what seems to be, the hard part for them in the red zone defense, and how are y'all looking to adjust that?
Like I said, if we just sit there and talk, we got to play better. and like all levels, and not just in the red zone. You know, before you get to the red zone, it's all areas, all field zones. You know, we're not executing at the standard that we expect and that what it takes to play at a championship level. So, you know, we have to accelerate that, and we've just got to fix the minor details. You know, we've got to fit everything properly, you know, from a rush lane standpoint to a run gap fit, you know, to, you know, just doing the minor details of everything, everybody doing your job, staying locked in on your job. Don't start over pressing because things may not be going right. Now you're trying to do somebody else's job, and then you give up something even bigger. So, you know, just playing complementary football on defense. And like when I tell my guys on all three levels, the front's got to think about the second level. Second level's got to think about the third level. Everybody's got to play complementary and understand what their jobs are and make sure they're doing their jobs at an elite level. And if we can get all those things tied together, then we'll play back to the standards that we're all accustomed to.
Coach, how would you describe what that standard is of Tennessee defense?
Well, you know, I think since we've come here, I think we, you know, sort of changed the identity, and I think we've been able to play some good defense, you know, in our time here. Well, we were never satisfied. I think we played better, and then obviously you always want to be better and get better. Nobody wants to regress, you know, and nobody's looking for excuses. You know, we have a job. We got to do our job at a high level. I mean, as coaches, you know, we got to coach it better, and we got to do it better.
Rodney, as the season has progressed, are opponents doing different things against Josh Josephs to kind of keep him from getting in the backfield as much, or is this just a matter of, you know, sometimes you're there and sack numbers just don't happen for one reason or another?
Well, you know, I think there were a couple times, you know, that you know Josh was very close last week. And it's not just Josh. You know, the other three guys on the front that are rushing, you know, they've got to be doing their job at a high level to allow him to finish on top of his rush. You know, we got to have the push up the middle. We got the other edge guy coming off, making it happen too. So it's like I said, it's complementary. You know, and it's not just on one guy. I mean, when you sit there and see it, there are, you know, yes, this is a great league. There are a lot of great coaches. Everybody's going to scheme every week to try to, you know, take guys out. But, you know, that's been the way it's been since day one. So that hasn't changed, you know. But, you know, we can see that you're close, but close doesn't count. You know, what do we got to do to finish? All right, and that's what we're focusing on this week. You know, we're playing a very good football team this week, very good players, great quarterback that's dynamic, can make a lot of things happen. Big athletic offensive line, so it's going to be a challenge. You know, we got to be very conscientious of our rush lane integrity. We got to be able to tackle. We got to be able to finish, and you know, we got to finish the play, and that's the bottom line. And we got to be able to get off the field on third down.
Do you think at all three levels, Coach, that everybody shares the urgency that you're speaking of right now to get to that standard back where you want it?
Oh yeah, man. These are the same coaches, the same young men. All right. So you know, we see it. You know, we got to get it done. All right, and nobody's interested. Well, you know, we're young here, this and that. That doesn't matter. Man, that's just the league that we're in. All right, it's a bottom line business. All right, and it's bottom line. I mean, so we've got to get it done. I think everybody sees that. I know we as a staff see it, and I know we're all looking in the mirror. That's where it all starts. You know, that guy looking back at you, that's where it all starts. You know, so I know I can be a better coach. And I think everybody on the staff thinks they can be better coaches. I think everybody in those locker rooms think they can be better players because they're all very prideful men, and they want to be elite and they want to be the best at their jobs. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Have a good day.